Sir Bernard Drake was an Elizabethan sea captain, and a distant kinsman of Sir Francis Drake. Origin: he was the eldest son of John Drake, gentleman of Ash in the parish of Musbury, Devon, and his wife Amy, daughter of Sir Roger Grenville. Richard Drake was his brother. He was a first cousin of Roger Grenville, who was captain of the Mary Rose when it sank in 1545, and father of Sir Richard Grenville, the Elizabethan explorer. Sir Bernard's aunt, Alice Drake, married Walter Raleigh and became the stepmother of Sir Walter Raleigh, the explorer and poet. Bernard Drake was a second cousin of William Pole, the antiquary. Bernard was possibly also a distant kinsman of Sir Francis Drake, the circumnavigator. The existence of such a kinship was a controversy even during the lifetimes. Bernard succeeded his father in 1558. Voyages. His life was uneventful until he became associated with Sir Humphrey Gilbert, perhaps through his relatives Richard Grenville and Walter Raleigh. Thus Bernard was first attracted to American ventures, and, in December 1582, he was among the adventurers in a corporation established by Gilbert to exploit his royal grant in North America. Although Drake's involvement seems to have been limited to his investment, Drake undertook to lead a party of adventurers to settle whatever part of North America Gilbert had sold him on paper. He did not participate in any overseas ventures, however, so far as is known, until 1585, by which time he had joined with Raleigh and Humphrey Gilbert's brother John in activities connected with the Roanoke Island colony in present-day North Carolina, when on the 26th of May, the Spanish government placed an embargo on English shipping in Bilbao Harbor. Raleigh commissioned Drake to warn English fishermen in Newfoundland of the embargo and to cease Spanish shipping, dropping plans for a privateering voyage to the West Indies en route for Roanoke, where a colony was to be settled by Sir Richard Grenville, who had left Plymouth in April. Drake left for Newfoundland in July. The voyage was both successful and profitable, beginning with the capture of a Portuguese ship laden with Brazilian sugar. Once at Newfoundland, Drake alerted the fishermen to the danger of heading directly to markets in Spain and captured both Spanish and Portuguese fishing ships, sending some of his ships back to England with the prizes. He joined forces with another of Raleigh's associates, George Raymond, and sailed for the Azores. They seized Spanish ships coming from the West Indies with cargoes of sugar, wine, and ivory, and a French ship carrying some gold. In all, they probably took more than 20 ships, though not all reached England safely. Estimates of the value of the prizes vary, but the voyage likely returned a profit of at least 600%. As the share, Drake and his eldest son, John, were given 4 of the most valuable ships by Raleigh and Sir John Gilbert. Strategically, the raid had the result of depriving the Spanish Navy and Merchant Marine of 60,000 quintals of the dried fish so important to the victualling of ocean-going ships. In a precautionary move, the following year, the Spanish government forbade ships to sail to Newfoundland. Thereafter, Spanish fishing ships tended to frequent the island's south coast, away from the English area of dominance. The Portuguese fishery seems never to have fully recovered from Drake's attack. Marriage and progeny. At an unknown date, Drake married Gertrude Fortescue, daughter of Bartholomew Fortescue, of Filleigh, North Devon, and sister of Richard Fortescue, in whose memory he erected a monumental brass in Filleigh Church by Ellen, daughter of Maurice Moore and Cecily Bonville. They had 6 children: Hugh Drake, who died in Portugal in 1589, sine prole; John Drake, of Mount Drake and Ash, who married Dorothy, daughter of William Button, of Aston, Wiltshire. The son, Sir John Drake of Ash, married Eleanor, daughter of John Boteler, 1st Baron Boteler of Brondfield, and was the maternal grandfather of John Churchill, 1st Duke of Marlborough. Marie, who married Tinsley of Lincolnshire. Mary, who married John Sherman of Knightstone, Ottery Street. Mary, their daughter Alice, married Richard Percival and was ancestress of the Earls of Egmont. Eleanor, who married John Button of Wiltshire. Death and amp burial. On the 9th of January 1586, Bernard Drake was knighted by Elizabeth I at Greenwich in recognition of his success. A couple of months later, the surviving Portuguese prisoners, whom Drake had had imprisoned in Exeter, were put on trial, the charge perhaps being mutiny. Those who lived came to trial at the notorious Lent Black Assize of Exeter from the 14th of March 1586, held at Exeter Castle. The prisoners were so weak and ill that Drake was reprimanded by the judge, Edward Flowerdew, Baron of the Exchequer, for his neglect. Within little more than 3 weeks, the judge, 11 of the 12 jurors and 8 justices of the peace, who had been exposed to the prisoners, died from an infection caught from the Portuguese. Ill himself, Drake tried to reach home but died in Crediton on the 10th of April 1586, and was buried 2 days later. For more than a year an epidemic of what was apparently typhus raged in Devonshire. Drake's son, John, inherited Ash as well as the profits of the Newfoundland voyage. Monument. A monument was erected by his son, John, in St. Michael's Church, Musbury, which shows 3 generations of family patriarchs at prayer, each kneeling with his wife. The inscription under the middle couple, being Sir Bernard and his wife, is as follows. Here is the monument of Senior Bernard Drake KT, who had to wife Dame Garthrud, the daughter of Bartholomew Fortescue of Filleigh Church, by whom he had 3 sons and 3 daughters, whereof were 5 living at his death, viz. John, Hugh, Marie, Margaret and Helen. He died the 10th of April 1586, and Dame Garthrud his wife was here buried the 12th of February 1601, unto the memory of whom John Drake Esq. his son hath set this monument anno 1611. Armorials. The armorials of the ancient family of Drake of Ash, Argent, a wive in gules, can be seen on the monument to Sir Bernard erected at Musbury Church in 1611. Sir Francis Drake, the great sea captain, but no relation to Sir Bernard, when knighted by Queen Elizabeth in 1581, assumed the arms of Drake of Ash, which action was contested by Sir Bernard, as the anecdote recorded by John Sweet, noted by him from John Prince's Worthies of Devon, relates. By the assumption of the arms of the family of Ash, Sir Francis Drake incurred the displeasure of Sir Bernard, insomuch that Sir Francis received from the indignant knight a box on the ear, and that even within the precinct of the court, the Queen was of too haughty a spirit to permit such an outrage to pass unpunished, and not only reprehended Sir Bernard, but as a check to the pride of the one and as what was due to the merit of the other, bestowed on Sir Francis a new coat of arms elusive to his having circumnavigated the world. Diamond, a fess wavy between 2 pole stars, Arctic and Antarctic pearl, and a crest, a ship on a globe under ruff held by a cable rope with a hand out of the clouds, in the rigging whereof is hung up by the heels a wive and gules. Tar arms of Sir Bernard, which indignity the knight bore as well as he might, observing that though her Majesty might give Sir Francis so nobler, yet she could not give an antienter coat than his. Wilfred Scott Giles made the episode the subject of a humorous poem in his motley heraldry. Sir Bernard said to Sir Francis, "You're making a grave mistake if now you're a knight you think you've a right to the wive and gules of Drake." Sir Francis said to Sir Bernard, "Your wive and gules you can keep at the Queen's behest'll have such a crest as will make your arms look cheap." Queen Elizabeth said to the heralds, "Draw Frankie a coat of worth, and thereon between pole stars be seen his wavy course round the earth, and upon a globe on his helmet the good ship Golden Hind show, with a dragon to fame El Draco's name." And the heralds made it so. Sir Francis said, "Look, Sir Bernard, And Sir Bernard proudly spake, "Grandarms you've got I allow, but the not, the ancient wyvern of Drake." Sir Francis, regardless of Sir Bernard's protest, nevertheless proceeded to adopt the arms of Drake of Ash, as he sealed several documents with the wyvern arms quoted with the new code. A surviving portrait of Sir Francis, probably contemporary, displays the wyvern in the first and fourth quarters. In 1643 the daughter of John Drake of Ash married Sir Winston Churchill, and the son, John Churchill, 1st Duke of Marlborough, was born at Ash House. The Churchill arms use as supporters two wyverns' wings, elevated gules, derived from the arms of their Drake ancestors. Ancestry and descendants. Sir Bernard Drake was an 11th-generation descendant of Edward I through his great-great-grandfather Thomas Grenville, of Stowe, High Sheriff of Gloucestershire. A descendant of Drakes, Franklin J. Drake, was a Rear Admiral in the United States Navy.